This video will be a little different than the normal episodes. In this video, rather than demonstrate lure making, we're going to take a journey into lure making, which is what I consider to be a high form of artful expression. You probably won't find any fishing lures at the Louvre or hanging in somebody's collection, but here are 5 reasons why it is high art. Let's start from the top. Reason number 1 would be the components, the tools, and the supplies. How do we get to the swim baits that you see on screen? We need materials. We need molds, colors, flakes, etc., which are all high art in themselves. Let's take a look at some molds. Look at the precision machining. The mold maker not only has to master how to use an expensive milling machine, they also have to have mastery of CAD software, drawing software, and it just goes beyond what you see in your mold. There's a lot of math, there's a lot of engineering that goes into it. The CNC mills are many thousands of dollars, and the mold maker has to be an artist and an engineer all at once. Look at the details. It does not come easy. The other aspect, of course, is that the lure has to be attractive. The mold maker has to consider all the other variables and factors, but also be able to produce a mold that spits out an attractive bait, not only to the fisherman, but also for the fish. Let's take a closer look at some of the components. Let's get to the colorful side of things. Here we have some basic flakes. And your average bait maker's garage holds enough flake, pigment, and colors to rival that of many art studios around the world. That is no exaggeration, of course. We have many hundreds of options to choose from. Today's bait maker, I would say, has an embarrassment of riches when it comes to materials at his or her disposal. From fancy color shift powders that play tricks on the mind, to more basic powders and liquid pigments. We have so many wonderful options at our disposal. It truly is art. There's just simply no other way to put it. The options can be so overwhelming, it's hard to know where to begin. Another aspect is lure eyes. Let's just take a look. Wow. All you can really say is just look at it. These are all designed in-house by Jetson Lure Company. When I open my folder of my high-end lure eyes, it's sort of like standing in a jeweler's window, admiring star sapphires, opals, diamonds, and any other expensive items that they may have on display. Lure eyes have come a long way. You can even put logos and other images in your eyes to further customize your lures. Take a look at that. For the second reason, we need to look at the injection process. To the non-bait making casual observer, injection might seem like the easier method, the more elementary, right? And they would not be wrong. However, it's the preparation that requires the artful skill. The preparation of your plastic, temperature control of your plastic, building color, adding glitter. An experienced bait maker has to consider a few variables, of course. Number 1 being temperature. The polyvinyl chloride composition known as plastisol can scorch, which will cause discoloration of his or her plastic. Then saturation, how much pigment to use, how much glitter to use. Do we want light refraction? Does the bait maker want high saturation, or do they want low saturation? How much light penetration? All of these things determine how well your color is seen by the angler. Then it becomes trickier still with double injection, also known as laminating in the industry. Now we are putting 2 colors in one mold. And yes, you guessed it. There is even triple injection where we have to make 3 colors work. This Middle River Baits River Raptor will demonstrate reason number 3. This is as custom as it gets. This bait right here is definitely not your grandpa's bag of fishing worms. This was carved by hand, painstakingly, hour after hour, to create a master. The master was then poured in silicone to create a mold. The bait maker then created this absolutely masterful rainbow trout pattern, all using hand pour techniques, in a mold made by himself for himself. Doesn't get any more artful than that. The level of patience and mastery required is nothing short of stellar. Same with this mold right here. This is also a custom-made silicone hand pour mold. This is made by a good friend of mine, Noah Allen Clark, an extremely talented mold maker. Look at the symmetry of those cavities. It almost looks machine-made. The precision just does not look handmade. It looks too good. This is an example of high artful expression in the form of lure making molds. Making custom lure molds is not for the faint of heart. It is very difficult to sculpt a master that is up to par to create a mold of this quality. People who can do this, my hat is off. Reason number 4 really hardly even needs an explanation. But here we go anyway. Hand-carved, handmade wooden lures. And to demonstrate this, we don't have just any wooden lure. This is a marling bait, made by the hands of the man behind the camera, unless you've been living under a big pile of cut down trees and rocks. You know about marling baits. One of the most talented set of hands to ever touch an airbrush. See, airbrush. And of course, carve a wooden lure. The amount of patience required just goes well beyond, I think, what most of us are really capable and willing to do. This might look like a more simple paint job pattern for a marling bait, but the actual bait itself is anything but. Every single detail, from the basic shape of the bait to every individual scale, is completely fashioned by hand. The amount of work is absolutely immense. It probably takes as long to produce a bait of this quality as it does for a master watchmaker to assemble a movement of a grand complication timepiece. Absolutely stellar work. And let's not forget the custom aspect of a bait like this and every other wooden lure maker. This was not simply cut from a template or stenciled out. This is the brainchild of the bait maker himself, in this case, Nate Marling. It just goes beyond anything that can be considered normal. It really is, how do I put this, an exercise in insanity. Just look at the detailing. All you can do is just kind of hold your breath and look. However, we do not want to leave out the other thousands of super talented wooden bait makers. Actually using one of these pieces to fish with is about like using the Mona Lisa to cover a spot on the wall. This is wooden lure making at its finest, and that is reason number 4 why this is high art. Coming in at number 5, you guessed it, the art of hand pouring. There's pretty much no debate that this is an art form. At least for soft plastic lure making, hand pouring allows for the most creative expression. You can place color precisely, you can blend colors naturally, you can use thermal blending, layering. There are so many techniques. You can even use powders, and dusting, which we see an example of here from Oracle lures. Building layers of color to achieve a natural pattern is probably the end goal, really, of any lure making. And here you see some swim bait examples of just that. Color upon color, layer upon layer, precisely placed, precisely built, precisely blended to achieve realism. Realism being the goal. Much like these custom painted crankbaits right here from EA Bait Company, might I add. Hand pouring allows the bait maker to place color, just like you would with these airbrushed lures here. Hand pouring allows for any pattern to be made. Poured by hand, just like you see here, every layer, every color is placed precisely, using nothing but gravity and the tilt of a Pyrex cup. Paint with plastisol is how I like to put it. The mold becomes your canvas, pigments, colors, and plastisol becomes your paint. Very much as Monet in his Water Lilies collection would blend color after color to paint the perfect picture, when examined up closely, might not make sense. However, when viewed as a whole, the picture comes together and you see the full expression. We've looked at several types of lure making in this video, each one just as important and really just as skillful as the other. Hand pouring might be my personal favorite, but each form of lure making is without doubt some of the highest art form available.